Okay, we'll continue our discussion on modified comments, and in this session we'll discuss three more modified comments: scale, offset and stretch. As the name indicates, scale is for reducing or enlarging an object which we have already drawn, and if the scale factor is above 1, we are enlarging the object, and if it is less than 1, we are reducing the object. So to use the scale command, we need an object which is to be scaled, and we need a scale factor, that is the reduction or enlargement factor. As I mentioned just before, if the scale factor is above 1, the object will be enlarged, and if the scale factor is below 1, the size of the object will be reduced. Also, if you see the scaling effect, or where the object has to be placed after scaling, we can understand that we need one more input, that is the base point. See, suppose if I want to reduce the size of this rectangle by 50%, that is to make it half, I can make it half and position this rectangle at different ways. One way is having this point fixed here, so that the rectangle will be something like this, or I can have this point fixed here, so that the rectangle will be something like this. So in any of these ways you can use, or you can position it anywhere. And for positioning after scaling, we need to give a base point also. We have seen base point in various other modified commands or modified tools. So here, when we want to scale an object, AutoCAD requires the object to be scaled. The second one is the base point, and the third one, the scale factor. I'll demonstrate scaling of this rectangle. I'm going to make the size of this rectangle 75% of the original one, so which means the scaling factor is 0.75. Okay, I'm starting the scale command by clicking the command here. So when I click scale here, you can see AutoCAD prompts to select me the objects to be scaled. You can have multiple objects, but here I'm just selecting one object. Okay, I did select that object, and once I complete the selection, press enter, indicating to AutoCAD that your selection is completed. Then AutoCAD will prompt you to specify the base point. So here initially I'll show this being this as base point, so I'm taking this as base point. Now what AutoCAD wants is the specify the, you can see here, specify the scale factor. So as I discussed earlier, here we are giving scale factor as 75. Okay, now you can see this has been reduced with its size as 75% of the original size. Now we'll see what happens like if you are specifying this as your base point. See, as I mentioned this as my base point, it has been reduced to this side, or like this point the AutoCAD has kept in the original position itself. Okay, this time I'm selecting the object first, then I'm typing the scale for scale command. Then it will ask me, because as I already selected the object, it is not prompting me to select the objects. Instead of that, it is directly asking me the base point. So I'm giving this as my base point. Then it will ask me to give the scale factor. Okay, this time I'm reducing it by 50%, so 0.5. Okay, now this point is fixed and it has been reduced accordingly. So this is the normal option, or without using any other option. Like you can scale an object like this. You can scale multiple objects also. Like suppose if you have one circle here, maybe, and the line like this. Suppose if you want to scale all these objects, you can select all these objects, and then start scale command. then you can give the base point, then you can give the scale factor, let us say 0.8. Okay, so it has been, all has been reduced. The size of all the objects has been reduced. Okay, so like this you can scale a single object or multiple object by using scale command. Now if you see the scale command, there are two options in scale command. One is copy and the second one is reference. So we'll see what these options are. So I started a scale command and I'm selecting the object here. Okay, to complete the selection I press enter, then it is asking me to specify the base point. I'm giving this as base point. Now you can see there are two options here, one is copy and the second one is reference. The copy option, you might have already guessed what this copy option does. The copy option will keep the original object intact, and we'll get a copy of the original object in the scale manner. Okay, I'll show you. So I have just clicked the copy and I'm giving the scale factor as this time. Let me enlarge it, so 1.3. fine. See, so this object, the one which you are seeing outside, is 1.3 times the smaller one, and the smaller one was our original object, and this is not deleted because we use the copy option here. Okay, so that is about copy option. Now we'll see what this reference option is. Let us say I just want to see what is the current distance. I'm not sure, so I'll just see what is the distance of this side. Okay, this side is something like 118.1475 or something like that. Okay, I want this side to be 150, this side to be 150, and according to that I need to scale this object. That is this side, which is 118.475 or something like that, has to be enlarged to 150, and accordingly the other side or the entire object has to be scaled. So the scale factor will be something like 150 divided by 118 point something, which we may have to calculate and give it to, although we have options for that one. In AutoCAD we have calculator facility in AutoCAD itself. Maybe we'll see that later. That is not our point of discussion right now. So now we will see how we can achieve that by using the reference option in scale. So I'm starting the command scale and I'm selecting the object. Okay, complete the selection by press enter, then I'm giving my base point. I will take the reference option here, and for the reference option, first AutoCAD will ask you the first reference length, that is this 118.475 or something like that. And as I'm not exactly remembering that one because it has got few points and all those things, instead of that I can give that reference length by mentioning these two endpoints. So I'm clicking this first point, second point, so that value will be taken as, or the length between those 2 points will be taken as the reference length. Now the new length what you want for this reference length has to be specified. As we have mentioned earlier, I want this as 150, so I press 150 and press enter. Okay, now let us see whether the object what we have got is 150 or not. Yeah, you can see that this distance is 150. So it has been scaled in such a manner that this side is 150, and according to that one the other side has also been scaled. Okay, so this is about scaling in AutoCAD. So you can draw an object in any scale, in any dimension, and later if you want you can scale it with a with the scale command very easily. Okay, let me pause for some time. Okay, so auto scale we'll see this offset and if you have been following my earlier lectures, you might have seen this offset comment or offset option in somewhere. Just try to recollect that one and comment that in this. We can add comment to this in this Google class. you can just mention where you have seen this offset comment earlier, in which drawing command or editing commands we came across this offset command before this. Okay, so I do expect your response in this regard. Now we'll talk about offset here. See, offset is for creating parallel objects. If you click, or if you place your mouse on here, you can see, you can read the details regarding offset. That is offset create concentric circles, parallel lines, parallel curves. That is, if you use offset command, you can create objects which are parallel to the current one. For example, like if I have a line, a couple of lines like this, and if you want to create line which is parallel to this one, say at a distance of 20 units, maybe on the upper side or lower side, or if you have a circle here, and if you want to create another concentric circle, another circle which is concentric to this one and which is at a 10 units outside this circle, or if you have some polyline like this, and if you want to create a polyline which is parallel to this at some known distance, then you can use this offset command. So offset command is very straightforward. It doesn't have too many options. It just required a couple of inputs from you. The first input being the distance through which we need to offset the object. I repeat, the first thing what we need to set or give is the distance through which you want to offset your object. Then you need to select the object which you want to offset, and obviously you can see that the offset can be on two sides. Here, see, in the case of this line segments here, it can be on the upper side, on the lower side, or as far as the circle is concerned, it can be inside or outside, or as far as this polyline is concerned, it can be inside or outside, or bottom, or whatever you can call. So basically the offset can be done in any of these two sides. So you need to specify to AutoCAD which side actually we want our offset. Okay, fine. So we'll demonstrate, we'll see, we will offset this for say a distance of 15. Fine. So first I'm starting the offset command here. Then it will ask me to specify the offset distance, and also we have a couple of options here which we'll discuss later as usual. So the offset distance here which I'm giving is 15, right? Once I give the offset distance, it will ask me to select the object which is to be offset. Okay, I'm selecting this line for offsetting. So once I select the object, it will ask me specify the point on the side to offset. That is, you want to mention to AutoCAD in which side of the current object you need to offset. So suppose if you want it on this side, you can just click any point on this side. Okay, so it is offsetted. And offset basically is a continuous command. Again, it will ask you to select another object, then side, another object, then side, right? So until you complete your offset, AutoCAD will prompt you to select object and select side, or select point on the side which you want it to be offset. Okay, so I'm using the same command for offsetting this circle. So you can again offset the one which you have created right now, like this. Okay, fine. Now I'm doing it for this one. Select this, yeah, inside, select this. Fine. So this is about offset command or default options of offset command. And also we have one more option which although we have seen 2 or 3 options here, out of which one is important. Say suppose if I have a circle here, I want to offset this line in such a manner that this line passes to the top of the circle, that is through the quadrant of the circle. So here if you want to give distance, then you'll have to measure the distance from this line to this quadrant, and that has to be set as an offset. Instead of that, we have an option here which is called through, so that the offset will be done through the point which we are specifying. Okay, I'm using the offset command, offset. Then instead of specifying the distance, I'm taking it as through. Then it will ask me to select the line to be offset or the object to be offset. Then I can, as I have mentioned, through, then it is not offsetting that one, so I can give the point through which it has to be offsetted. So I want it to be through this quadrant. As quadrant object snap is not on, I will type QUA, press enter. Okay, again to complete the offset command, I can press escape or press enter. We can see that this line is offset through this particular point. So that is about offset. Offset will pause for some time. Okay, now we'll see the stretch command. To discuss this stretch, I will draw an elevation of a small house, in fact, or a hut. So I'm just starting the command for drawing a rectangle. Okay, and I'll draw just a rectangle like this, and I will have a roof for this, like this point. Okay, this ortho mode is on, I will make it off. Okay, I will draw it here. Fine, I got the roof. Now I want a door here. Okay, let me make the ortho mode on again. I click the line command. I want some point here on this line, for which I will be using the snap called nearest. So I type NEA, press enter. I come near to the line. You can see a point on the line is snapped. It's in any point, but it will be on the line exactly as I use this nearest object snap. Okay, so up to this point, then maybe this. Then I want it to this lines here. I will be using the perpendicular object snap, PER, and here. Okay, I completed that door. Now I want a small window here. Okay, window. Okay, we'll have just some marks for the divisions for the window. Fine. Now I have got a small elevation of a small house, if you can call this as a hut or a house. Okay, now after drawing this one, I thought that I just want the length of this side is not enough. I want it to be extended a little bit more. I want to extend it to, say, like maybe, yeah, my new boundary is this particular point, so I want my this point up to here. So, or I want to stretch this to here. So in that particular case, you don't have to redraw the entire thing. You can just stretch this drawing to this particular point. For that one, we have a command here called stretch, and you can start stretch command by clicking stretch here, or by typing stretch here, stretch on the command line. And for stretching, first we need to select the object. And if you look closely at the command line, you can see on the just above the command, you can see the select object to stretch by crossing window or crossing polygon. Hope you remember what is crossing window and crossing polygon. So please comment here what this crossing window is, what this crossing polygon is, what is the difference between crossing window and crossing polygon. Polygon, I mean, we haven't discussed about crossing polygon. We have seen what this crossing window is, or windowing and crossing, the option which we have discussed when we discussed about selection. So please do write or comment on the comment line, on the comment session. You can include in the discussion part what this crossing is. or that this windowing is, and I think you have remembering what this implied windowing is. So please have a small discussion on this thing in the commenting session. Okay, so here we need to select the objects by a crossing polygon, sorry, or a crossing window. Yeah, you need to select the objects by a crossing window. So I'm going to select the object here, and once I complete the selection of the objects, it will specify how many objects has been found and all those things here. Then to complete the selection, as usual, we can press enter. Now AutoCAD will ask us to specify the base point. Okay, base point, second point method you may be remembering, like you can recollect in which all editing tools we have used this base point and displacement method, and please comment that also in the comment line. Okay, so I do expect all this responses from your side, so that I can understand that you are following my classes or you are understanding my classes. Okay, now as we need to want to stretch this to this particular point, I'm giving this as my base point, and this endpoint, I have some endpoint here, right? Endpoint as my new endpoint. So you can see that the entire object is stretched to that extent. Also you can see that the area or I can say the stretching actually happens between this door and window. So this area, it has been stretched. I'll do an undo so that you can just see what has happened. See, this area has been stretched, and why this area has been stretched is because, see, when I selected this thing, you might have seen, notice that the selection was something like this, and here the window was completely inside my selection, and the other lines, the window as well as this side wall, the wall which is on this side, these items or these objects were completely inside the window which I have selected. That window means this crossing window. That is this green area what you are seeing. Sorry. Sorry, and the other lines, that is this rooftop line, this line and this line, it was crossed by this green window. So you can like divide the entire objects which has been crossed by the window or which is inside the window as two things. One, the first thing is the objects which are completely inside the crossing window, and the objects which has been crossed by this window. Okay, so what stretch does is the objects which is completely inside the window will only be moved, and the objects which has been crossed by this window, that will be stretched. Okay, I'll show the same thing once again. So just a minute. Okay, so I repeat. See, when I selected the object by this crossing window, we can see some of the objects are completely inside my window and some of the objects are partially inside, or we can say it is crossed by this particular window. So the objects which are completely inside the window will only be moved, whereas the objects which are crossed by this window will be stretched. Okay, so I'll show it once again. So just see, I'm selecting this window from this point to this point, so that this window or the elements of this window are completely inside, and this line, this end line, that will be completely inside, whereas this point, this line, and this line are crossed by this particular window, or which is partially inside this one. Okay, so again I'm using the stretch command. I'm selecting the objects as I have explained earlier, then press enter to complete the selection. Then I'm giving this as my base point, then I stretch. You can see that window is only moving, it is not stretching, whereas the other three lines what we have discussed, these lines are stretching. right? Okay, to make it more clear, this time what I'm going to make is like I'll be making a portion of this window also as crossing by this selection. So I'm using the stretch command. Okay, I'm selecting from here to here. Now you can see that the window also is not completely inside the crossing window. The window of the house is not inside the crossing window. So I'll complete the selection. That's fine. See, now the window also is extended or stretched, in fact. So like this, depending upon which portion you want to extend, you can select the objects in that proper manner. Suppose if you want this door also to be stretched, then you can stretch it like this. You can select the objects like this, right? Yeah, complete the selection. Okay, so this is about stretch, and we have seen we can stretch it in different ways. The same object can be stretched in different ways based on how you select that one, and of course you need to select it by using a crossing window. So and hope you remember what this crossing window is, and I already asked you to write in the comment line what this crossing window is. Okay, so with these three comments, we'll conclude my discussion on modify comments in this session, and we'd like to see a few more modify comments and some interesting comments like array and or, which we'll have it in the following sessions. Okay, thank you for listening me, and take care, and please do comment on any aspects, like even if you need any clarity on any of the aspects which we have discussed here, or if you are having any doubt on any of these aspects. And also I do recommend you to practice these things if you have system in your house, or if you haven't installed, please try installing that one and try these things, or you can just make notes of all these things what we have discussed here, and as soon as the college reopens you can come here and practice it in the lab. Okay, that's all for this session. Thank you for listening me.